Do you feel nervous and anxious when you have to read in English? Perhaps you dread having to read at work, or maybe you're working for an exam like IELTS and you are really worried about that difficult reading exam. My name is Sarah and I am an English teacher and language anxiety coach, and in this video I'm going to be talking about reading anxiety. I'm going to share some of the causes of reading anxiety as well as some solutions so that if you do suffer from anxiety while you read, and by the end of this video you should have some tools to help you deal with this problem. Now, language anxiety is usually associated with speaking because it's when we speak that we kind of, we put ourselves out there and we open ourselves up to the world, and therefore we worry about people's judgments and we worry about pronunciation, and there's a lot of anxiety that can be connected with speaking. But reading is also a challenging skill. And think about an exam. You know, if you have to read a text in an exam, you have a time limit, you've got difficult questions, and you can't find the answers, that is enough to cause anxiety and maybe even panic. And if you are a non-native English speaker who needs English at work, imagine that you're in a presentation and one of your native speaker colleagues has a big slide, a big PowerPoint slide with all this information in English. Maybe you are a little bit slower than your native speaker colleagues, and again, this can be a cause of anxiety. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. Now, common causes of reading anxiety. Number one, if you come from a country that does not use Roman letters, so for example, China, Japan, Korea, countries where you speak Arabic, Russia, Ukraine, any country which uses a different writing system to English, it's possible that that can cause you some anxiety. So for example, for Chinese people, because Chinese characters are written in little blocks of a syllable, English words can seem very, very long. Why do they need to be so long when a Chinese character is so compact? This can be a cause of anxiety. For some readers, particularly Arabic speakers, the letters can get muddled up, so B and D can get confused because they're very similar, or P and Q. So having a language, having a first language which uses a different writing system can cause anxiety. Now, another cause of reading anxiety is when people have a very weak sound spelling understanding. And you know, in English the sound spelling connections are very, very strange, I have to say. But it's a problem if you don't know how to pronounce a word, because how can you know the word if you can't say it in your head? And I believe actually that English teachers should do more to raise awareness among their students of the connections between sound and spelling, because although it might not seem like it, there are in fact rules about sounds and spelling, and knowing these rules can really help you to spell and sound the words in your head. Now, another problem, another cause of anxiety is when people have poor understanding of chunking. Now, chunking is when we break language not into words, but into chunks or into phrases. And I'm doing this now with my speaking because I want to speak very clearly. So I have a lot of little pauses to break down my speech. And when strong readers read, they automatically chunk the text, and it's much quicker to read chunks than individual words. Learners who can't do this, learners who have to read word by word by word, can struggle to read quickly, and it can just be much harder to understand because you don't know where the text breaks. Another cause of anxiety is basically trying to read things which are too difficult. This can be really demoralizing. If there is too much new grammar, if there are too many new words and you just don't understand, that's a major cause of anxiety. And finally, cultural differences. And maybe you understand all the words and all the grammar, but you kind of don't really understand the meanings. Like, what are they talking about here? I don't get it. And that could be because you have missed a cultural reference. It's not something that you are familiar with. And that can be very difficult for people, you know, particularly at higher levels, because I understand the words, but I don't seem to understand what they mean. So what's going on with that? So those are all causes of anxiety. Now let's look at some solutions. So the first one, work on pronunciation. Pronunciation is not just about speaking. Pronunciation is actually connected to every other language skill. Listening, writing, and reading all connect with pronunciation. So the better your understanding of pronunciation is, the better your other skills are going to be. Number 2, work on your spelling, particularly the spelling patterns. Now, English spelling is strange. It's not a phonetic language like Spanish or Korean, but there are still patterns, and those patterns do connect with specific sounds, and you can learn that. So work on it. Number 3, make sure that when you are practicing reading, you are reading at the correct level for you. Now, if your reading is a little bit weak, let's say you're like me with Chinese and your speaking is okay, but your reading is lower, there is no shame in reading at a lower level to your other skills. You know, if you know you struggle with reading, well, boost your confidence by reading easy stuff first and then build up slowly, okay? Don't try to read things that are too difficult, because you just might make yourself feel like giving up, and you don't want to do that. Now, if you are in an exam or an other stressful situation and you start to kind of get that feeling of panic, like, oh my God, this is so hard, I can't find the answer, what am I going to do, what am I going to do? Stop. Because when your mind kicks into that panic state, you cannot concentrate. So stop, close your eyes, 3 breaths is enough, and then come back to your task. But if that panic arises, you need to stop it before it gets out of control. And then finally, reading at work. So this is a tricky one, because when you are a professional person and you need to read English at work and it's difficult, it can be really hard. What do? Like, do I go and speak to my boss, but they're going to think I'm an idiot because I can't read it, and then everyone will think I'm stupid because they can all read it, and so I'll just pretend that I'm fine, even though I'm looking all the words up in the dictionary. This is not a good strategy. So you might want to think about a supportive colleague or a friendly manager or someone else who is a non-native speaker, and go and speak to them and ask for help. If you have a supportive boss, explain to them the problem. Say, you know, this is challenging for me. It's okay, but I think I need a little bit more time. I think I need some extra help here. Because if you don't ask for help, guess what? You won't get it. Sometimes we actually have to ask for what we need, and then it's a surprise because people say, well, yeah, of course I'll help you to do that. So those are my tips and techniques for reading anxiety. If you have any questions, please do leave them in the comments below. I'd love to know what you think. If you are watching this video on YouTube, you can subscribe to my channel by clicking the button on my banner. My name is Sarah, an English teacher and language anxiety coach. Thank you for watching this video.